Welcome back. This may be handy for your War Within prep. So, if you're clued into the community goings on, you may have seen this Reddit post. Somebody discovered that with so many people flocking to Primal Storms in order to finish the meta achievement to unlock Taivan, they've basically become big boosting hotspots to level up your ult extremely fast with minimal effort, reporting level 60 to 70 in 60 to 90 minutes. So, we spent the weekend trying these to see if it was true, and the good news is they are fast as hell. However, there is a catch. Thankfully, we spent the weekend making dumb, inefficient mistakes so that you guys don't have to. So here's a smart, efficient move. Bellular.games. Over there, our members actually get our content early. Like, we actually had this whole guide, like as a text post, just over the weekend, whenever Matt finished things up and wrote up his findings. Over there, you also get early and ad-free access to our content, of course, the Lore Walking podcast as well, and it is by far the most impactful way that you can help us out on our mission. Of course, right now we're getting ready to hit the War Within hard and to make videos that are better and better than ever. So, Bellular.games is the place for that. And with that said, let's talk about some power leveling. How do these work then? So, here's what's up. The Primal Storms basically turn the areas they hit into hyper-spawn mob farming locations. The players farming this are in full Season 3 gear. They're deleting elites in seconds. Now, spawns are increased during the storm. The storms then drop in extra mobs on top of that, and those mobs give a lot of XP. And we're actually talking as high as 1% of a level for a single elite mob. And all you have to do to get that XP is to tag it while the achievement farmers go do all the killing, do the work for you. That's the bones of this method. These are some real old school MMO gamer abuses of three things. Elite mobs giving a lot of XP, elites having no tag limit, and other players' labor being donated freely. Is this just getting boosted using Dragonflight's best spots for free? Yes, it is. But in reality, does it actually pan out well? And what are the mistakes that can slow it down? So, are they really that good? This is where the catch comes in. Right now, speed questing can be obscenely fast. There are amazing routes available, and of course the Dream Surge buff exists. So, any new leveling technique needs to be reliable and extremely fast. As an example, time walking can also be unbelievably fast. Legion dungeons can be done in about 15 minutes at good pace, and they give you between half a level and a level, depending on how close you are to level 70. Now, these Primal Storm mob blenders do have a few advantages over those other techniques. Number one, it's easy. If you want to just level completely effortlessly, maybe while you're watching something on another monitor, yeah, this is a really good way to do that. You barely even have to look at your screen at times, like you're honestly just mashing tab and hitting whatever ranged button you have to tag the mobs. There is a second benefit to this, though. You can get yourself part of the meta achievement that ultimately rewards Taivan now. So instead of doing this on your main for no XP, you could knock this out on an ult, level your ult, and also get completion towards that achievement, so it is two birds with one stone. Third then, you don't have to worry about queue times with time walking if you're a DPS. You can just check which storm is up, go there, and get killing things while you're waiting for your time walking queue, and then the dungeons will still get you loads of XP. Fourth then, you can actually get the Season 1 tier sets from this. Now remember, the Primalist items are only eye level 385, but they can be turned into tier with the Catalyst, and since those are account bound, you can just give it to whatever class you actually need the tier for. Now obviously, this isn't for player power, this is for Mog. But as good as all that sounds, there are some disadvantages. It is totally random if a good storm is up. They were spawning 2 at a time last week, and for some reason without notice, they're now back down to 1, and that means you only get 1 chance every 3 hours that you'll be able to go at full speed. They're also a little bit unreliable. If you're playing at off-peak hours, there may not be enough people to make this as fast as is possible, of course, if that's your goal. Now, in testing multiple Primal Storms, we found that the fastest was Nokudan Hold. From 65 to 70 with no rested XP took about 80 minutes, and from 61 to 64 on another character, that took 30 minutes, but again, that was without rested XP. If you have rested XP and the Darkmoon Fair buff, this would really be a lot faster. Now, the slowest for us was in Scalecracker Keep in the Waking Shore. It took an hour to get from 63 to 65 with rested XP. Obsidian Citadel and Cobalt Assembly were about in the middle, with it taking 20 minutes to get a single level in each. Now, that's not amazing, right? But it is essentially half AFK, and it's a nice change of pace. So versus a slower Primal Storm, I think that leveling with a good route is faster, but again, there's a sort of effort versus outcome thing, and that's really your own determination. Then of course, there are Dream Surges, so if a Dream Surge is also up in the zone that happens to have the Primal Storm, you'll get another 25%, and there is War Mode, but obviously you can just be instantly deleted by a member of the opposite faction, so I don't really know if it's going to be worth the extra War Mode XP. Now, of all the storms, we have not had the good graces to see a Brackenhide Hollow storm while we were awake and testing this stuff out, but it's said to be about as fast as Nokudan Hold. So altogether, our verdict is this. It is really fast. It's not so insanely fast that it feels like you're exploiting or you're cheating, but it is some of the most chill leveling available in the game right now if you just want to sort of get into a groove, tagging mobs maybe while you're listening to a podcast or watching something. And with War Within, and of course with Season 4 around the corner, it is a pretty damn good time to just focus on getting your alts up. Okay, so now you know about the overall thing, let's talk about the how of doing it right. So doing this is easy. Check for a Primal Storm and decide if you want to do it or not. They spawn every 3 hours and last for 2 hours, so there is about an hour of downtime in between, but there's a whole load of uptime if you catch one at the start, of course. Now, if you're not logging into the game, you can just check Wowhead's front page. It's actually got a timer that says in your region where the storms are. If you see Azure Span or Onaran Plains, just drop everything and check, because Nokudan Hold and Brackenhide Hollow are amazingly fast. If it's the others, you still can go, of course, but it just won't be quite as good. So fly over there, land, and tag every elite mob that you see somebody else in combat with. Find a pack of people maybe and follow those people around for just tons and tons of free XP. Now that's the basics, but I did mention there are pitfalls at the top of the video, so let's talk about avoiding those via a list of tips that we've put together after our attempts at testing this. The biggest two tips are a little bit unusual, actually. One is to move less. You might think that you need to fly around and tag absolutely everything. That's only the case if mobs are not actually spawning enough. We spent a long time trying to maximize tags only to realize that the spawns were actually fast enough during our testing that staying in this sort of key central locations, like the center of Nokudan, this little spot in the Citadel, or this building in Skullcracker, those were both more efficient and less of a pain in the ass just to stay in and tag things, because the respawn times were so fast because there was so much player activity. Waiting 10 seconds or so on a mob to respawn, that is better than flying for 10 seconds just to maybe perhaps hit the last mob in a pack that someone else just killed. Again, reliability is key. The second major tip then is to keep an eye out on your own XP. If a mob is only giving you 100 XP, don't worry about tagging it. The real secret here is making sure that you're staying near the right mobs. As an example, in Skullcracker Keep, well, we spent most of our time in this area killing regular mobs and tagging the odd elite. Whereas down here, the Primalist mobs, they were actually giving over 3 times as much XP per kill. Yeah, so spending your time in the wrong place really impacts it. In Nokudan, the biggest source of XP is actually the storm-spawned mobs. Those, again, give about 3 times as much XP on a per-kill basis. So basically just chill out in the mob blender that'll be in the middle, but step out for a sec to hit the rock or the fire boys for some pretty damn huge gains. Then there's the obvious stuff, like as an example, the Darkmoon Fair is up this week, at least as I'm recording this, so yeah, go and make sure that you pick up that XP buff. Also, do park your characters where they'll be getting rested XP. There's no need to fully explain that, but rested XP is really useful, especially when so much of the XP here is just from raw kills. Then there are some less obvious things, like making tagging easier. If you are melee and you have a range spec in your class, swap to the range spec. That will, of course, help you tag mobs. Then make sure you've got as much movement speed as you can, maybe as many free or cheap ranged abilities as possible through Sacred Talents. Your only objective is to hit elite mobs before they die. Now, grouping will in fact cut down the XP that you get per mob, but if you're struggling to find tags, you may be able to get away with going in a group. Lastly, you can try something called layer hopping if nobody is around to kill them for you. Just list a group in your group finder, but don't actually invite anyone. Yeah, it's a bit degen, it's totally just an exploitation of how world layering works in a modern MMO, but if it takes you onto a layer where there are more players getting more kills, it'll mean more XP for you. With all that said then, what do we think about this method? Well, I was personally hoping this would be a bit of a, like, holy shit, stop the presses level of insane, but no, these aren't completely busted, but they are still a crazy good way to level up some characters, and for some people, this will be less mind-numbing than doing the same quests or dungeons that you may already be sick of. Doubly so, of course, if you are ranged and you have a lot of mobility, so you can just spin around in circles and just tag the whole world around you to lap up a bunch of free XP. So, honestly, I'd say give it a shot if you've got any alts left. That's what I'm going to be doing as I get ready for War Within. Let me know how you get on, and of course, if you want to take a look at our future content of the channel, hang out with us over in the Discord, well, go to bellular.games. That's where you can do that. And hey, if you want some lore, I've got some killer Season of Discovery lore, even a bit of Xalatath is in there, as well as the most recent Warcraft news episode. So, plenty to check out. Have a brilliant day. See you next time.